What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so want to talk about an old Mongol Slade, aka James Harden, on Unbreakable Point. The Clippers play the Golden State Warriors, I believe, tonight. They lost their opening game at home, their new arena, to the Phoenix Suns in an overtime loss. Thanks to the exploits of, I think it's Jordan Powell, they were able to overcome the Denver Nuggets. 37 points from Jordan Powell. Norman Powell, excuse me. I know something off with the way I was saying his name. Norman Powell. 37 points from Norman Powell. James Harden, his numbers look good. His numbers on the surface look good. 26 points per game. I think he's averaging 9 rebounds and 12 assists. The numbers look good on the surface through 2 games. When you dig deeper, you see the flaws. You see the serious flaws of Mongol Slade. His PR rating is only 17.6. That's not a PR rating indicative of an all-star player, let alone a superstar player. That's basically a role player PER. Good role player, but the PER rating of a role player. He's only shooting 38.5% from the floor in these 2 games. Now, it's just 2 games, but I mean, I think this is what you're going to see a lot of from James Harden in this stage of his career. He's only shooting 21.4% from three-point range. I don't think he's going to shoot that for the entire season. It's a small sample size, but I think you're going to see a lot of inefficiency, and what I'm trying to focus on in this particular video, you're going to see a lot of turnovers. The man had 8 turnovers in game 1 of the season, and he had 7 turnovers in the last game. He's probably going to cough up a bunch of them tonight. That's an aspect of his game that I don't think gets pointed out much, as much as it should. Look, we all know the knock on Russell Westbrook. He's become synonymous with turnovers because, as I said before, certain people become attached to certain negative, traits or negativity in general. But James Harden is the guy that should be just as much synonymous with turnovers, if not even more. James Harden led the NBA in turnovers a record 6 times in his career. A record 6 times in total turnovers. He led the NBA in turnovers in 2012, 2013. He led the NBA in turnovers 2014-15, 2015-16, and 2016-17. Matter of fact, he had 464 turnovers in 2016-17. He led the NBA in turnovers in 2018-19 and in 2019-20. And the only reason why he hasn't led the league in turnovers more than that is because in subsequent years he's had injury issues. But if he played in 70 plus or 75 or more games, he probably led the NBA in turnovers at least 8 times. This guy, and not only does he have a lot of turnovers, some of his turnovers have been absolutely horrible. And sometimes his offensive numbers mask his inefficiency at ball control. And it's not even that some of his turnovers come from, ball handling difficulties. It's not necessarily that. It's his basketball IQ. Oftentimes, some of his turnovers come when he, some of it's from a loss of athleticism. Oftentimes he'll drive the basket. Someone will catch up, a defender will catch up from behind, knock the ball away, he turns the ball over. Or he'll make these poor decisions where he gets a full head of steam, drives the basket, doesn't know what the fuck he's going to do. And, he's trying to look for a bailout call. It doesn't come. The ball gets knocked away, deflected, and stolen by the opposition. He gets a lot more of these turnovers than he used to before. But he still does get a lot of turnovers, or at least a few, from just stupid shit like, over dribbling and dribbling the ball off his foot out of bounds. That's what Mongo Slade does. And look, to the casual fan, this sounds ridiculous because they're looking at his offensive numbers, and you have people who really don't look at Mongo Slade in depth, and they'll say this guy's a top 5 guard. What are you talking about? But when you look at the fact that this guy has choked with some of the great teams of the past 10 years, how in the fuck did the 2018 how the fuck did the 2018 Rockets not go to the NBA Finals? Didn't that team win 65 games? Didn't that team, wasn't that team led by a guy who was averaging, what did he average in 2018? I think he averaged 31 points per game in 2018. He was playing with a Chris Paul that was in his prime. No, he averaged 30.4 points per game, excuse me. He won his first of 3 scoring titles. He was a league MVP. His team won 65 games. And somehow, some way, at home, in Game 7, even though they didn't have Chris Paul, they somehow lost to the Warriors because his team missed 27 3-pointers in a row. At some point in time, I would think after you've missed your 15th straight three, don't you think you maybe think it was time to switch up and do something different? I mean, the lack of creativity in today's game, man, and that's another thing, man. That's another thing. Look, guys like Vince Carter, guys like Kobe Bryant, guys like Julius Erving, Michael Jordan. When you think of them, you think creativity. Elgin Baylor, creativity. James Harden, it's already becoming step back city with the Clippers. Step back city. He's still doing those little trickery type, gimmicks and maneuvers to try to draw fouls. And, at the end of the day, it's cheap. It's real cheap. It's a real cheap way to get points. Look, 10 of his 26 points per game are coming from the line. Because at the end of the day, James Harden is a past his prime star who cannot be a leading guy for a championship team. Matter of fact, he can't even be, at this stage, Mongo Slade, I don't think can be a secondary guy. At best, James Harden should be a facilitator with 2 other guys that are primary scorers on a team to even have a shot at being a championship team. But with him being the lead guy, you can forget it. You can forget it, Clipper fans. You can forget it. Look, even the most ardent Clipper fans have given up. They've given up, man. They've given up. Because they know this is a lost cause season. So on the surface, yeah, James Harden's numbers look great offensively. On the surface. But when you dig deeper, you'll see that James Harden is the bloke that will choke on any given night. And you just can't trust the process, at least when it comes to James Harden. You cannot trust this guy, man. He will let you down all the time. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. Tell me what you guys think.